experiences and blessings. So most welcome. If any of the participant. Okay, thank you, Siddharth. I wish you have to proceed ahead.
Yes. Sir, today our first guest speaker is Dr. Quizar Farooq Dhar, sir. I hope Dr. Quizar Farooq Dhar, sir, is available.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to share my slides or my ideas with you. Thank you. Thank you. I am available here. I am waiting and I am listening this suggestions and every this renowned word from this member.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. Okay. Dr. Quizar Farooq Dhar, sir, has recently completed his postdoctoral research program from the Incheon National University, South Korea. He earned his doctorate degree in statistics, Department of Statistics, Ramanujan School of Mathematics, Science, Pondicherry University. He pursued his master's in statistics from the University of Kashmir, Srinagar. He worked as biostatistical scientist in Serai Kashmir Institute of Medical Science, SKIM, Srinagar. He has several outstanding paper awards of his credit. He was also awarded as Young Researcher and Young Scientist Award from India in 2020. Currently, he works as Scientist 3 at ICMR, NIRPH Jabalpur, Madhya Pradesh. He is an active member of many research organizations, organizes international and national conferences, and serves as a reviewer of several scientific journals. Based on his research interest, he has been published more than 50 research publications in high-impact scientific journal of international repute. Now, I would like to invite Dr. Quizar Farooq Dhar, sir. Please, sir.
Thank you very much, sir, for giving my introduction to everyone. So, I am audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible very much.
We hear some network issues from last 10 minutes. Before that, it was okay. Anyway, can I share my slide, sir?
Yes, sir, please.
Thank you, sir. Shall I start, sir?
Yes, sir, please start.
So, thank you very much and very good morning to everyone. So, today my lecture is on biostatistics as a backbone of the public health research. So, here I will give some concepts where we can use this statistics in public health, even medical research and other things. So first, statistics plays a critical role in the public health research by providing the tools and methods for collecting and analyzing the data. So what is actually biostatistics? Biostatistics, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Any issue, sir? Hello.
Yes, sir. Hello. Continue, please, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so biostatistics is actually a statistics, but a statistics applied in medicine, biology, public health are termed as the biostatistics. It is also called as the biometry, which means the measurement of the life. So how biostatistics is the backbone of our health research. So there are a lot of applications in medical research where we cannot do. We can say without statistics it is incomplete. So first I will tell about some applications so that you will understand how important is the biostatistics for the research. So let us start. First is ROC analysis. ROC analysis to define the normal limits are called as the reference ranges or reference values of the various laboratory and clinical parameters. For example, blood pressure, pulse rate, cholesterol level, hemoglobin level, blood cell count. So we have to use the statistics, and by use of the statistics, we can estimate these reference ranges by using the ROC curves. That is one of the. So without that, no one can tell whether our blood pressure or whether our hemoglobin level or whether our blood cell count is normal or abnormal. So for example, the normal limit of fast blood sugar may be 60 to 110 mg percentage, and the fast and the cholesterol level is 150 to 210. So these ranges are fixed by the statisticians. So this is the one of this aspect we can say. Without this, even doctor cannot say whether this patient is diseased or normal. So then there is another called as a correlation analysis to determine whether the various laboratory or clinical parameters are correlated, and if they are, to determine their degree of correlation and statistical significance. For example, the correlation of the blood pressure with the cholesterol. High cholesterol means high blood of blood pressure with the weight. More weight means the higher the blood pressure, and the correlation of the blood sugar level with the weight. That means the more weight and higher be the blood sugar. So these association is also determined or also estimated by use of the statistics. So then there is another branch called as epidemiology to estimate the magnitude of the various diseases and the health problems, assess their distribution with respect to place, time, and other factors, and identify the possible causative factors such as the social, economic status, lifestyle, behavior, habits, and environmental factors. So, for example, prevalence, the number of persons affected by a disease expressed as a percentage per thousand or the total number of the persons in study. So, for example, the hypertension may be the positive association with the smoke habit, and the diabetes may be the positive association with the job type, while tuberculosis may be the negative association with the socio-economic classes. So these are the epidemiological status where we can, without using the statistics, we cannot determine such things. We cannot determine the association between the two variables, the prevalence or
sorry, sir.
Yes, sir.
So actually, your slide is in freeze mode.
But it is not visible. Is it visible?
Sir, we are visible in slide number 58.
58. Oh, sorry. But actually, maybe now it is okay.
Yes, sir. This is first slide. Yeah.
So I think I should not go in this presentation mode. I will use this mode only. Is this in now slide second?
Sir, now this is slide 1. Now slide 1.
Is it slide is moving now? Is it moving now?
No. This one is slide 1.
It is
yeah,
slide
this is
1.
Second slide.
So actually maybe this.
This is third.
I will share once again. I will first stop the sharing and I will try once again. Huh?
Okay.
Is it second slide now? Is it okay?
Sir, this is third slide.
Okay. Now is it moving?
No, sir.
Actually, maybe I weak network.
Network issue maybe.
Yeah, network issue.
Yeah, this is fourth slide. Epidemiology.
Yeah, I will use this. You just check now. Is it moving?
Yes, sir. Now moving. And this is fourth slide.
Okay, sir. So I will use this mode only. So
Okay. Okay.
epidemiology. So epidemiology itself, the measurement of this disease, but without statistics, that this epidemiology even is not completed. So statistics is everywhere involved in the research, whether it is medical research, whether it is biological research, whether it is clinical research. So there, let us suppose another clinical trials to develop a more effective drugs and the treatment methods for the various diseases and to predict the various outcomes, improvement, cure, living or death after the treatment based on the various factors. This branch of study is called as the clinical trials. For example, what we are doing in this branch, let us suppose if we have two treatments and we have to check which one is the best. So in this case, we are going for the clinical trials, which one treatment is the best. And later, we are using the lot of multivariate analysis techniques for checking whether treatment A is best or treatment B is the best. Say, for example, if in market there are already some medicine, say at the time of the COVID shield comes, then after Covaxin comes. So in order to get which one is the efficient, so we are going for the clinical trials. So even in let us suppose in a very normally we are using this paracetamol. How paracetamol is important than the how paracetamol is different than the previous medicine cure of the headache. So in this case, we are going for the clinical trials, and the clinical trials itself is not completed without the multivariate analysis or without the use of the statistics. Then there is another branch, that is another branch which is using to test the efficacy of the new vaccines for the prevention of the diseases. And this branch is itself also not completed without use of the statistics. So just framework, clinical trial. So after getting the results, we are using the statistics. So without statistics, we cannot say what we are doing, what we have done, what was our outcome. So this outcome itself is represented, or we can say it is also well interpreted by the use of the statistics. Then another branch that is called as the demography, or we can say it is the vital statistics, to collect the data significantly on the vital events in a life, for example, birth, death, fertility, mortality, to estimate the vital statistics rates, for example, birth rate, death rate, fertility rate, mortality rate, and to evaluate the expectation of the life, number of the years expected to live. So these all the things is not possible without use of the statistics. So let us suppose another that is called as the bioassays. Bioassays itself one of the beautiful or wonderful branch of the statistics. In bioassays, we are just going check the relative potency of the drugs, relative potency, to estimate the potency and the relative potency of the drugs to determine ED15, that is effective dose of drug at which the 50% of those responds positively. So that effectiveness, how much drug, how much quantity we have to use, how much quantity we have to give a baby, how much quantity we have to give an elder person, how much quantity we have to give diseases which have already some other diseases, how much quantity we have given for prevention of some other disease. So this is also measured by using the bioassays, by using the statistics. Survival analysis is also one of the beautiful branch of statistics, to estimate the probability of survival after getting the treatment of specified period in a chronic diseases such as cancer and the AIDS. This branch of study is called as the survival analysis. Survival analysis usually, say for example, let us suppose person got cancer, and then he is telling the doctor, if we will go for the chemotherapy, what is our survival rate? how much years we will survive after getting this chemotherapy. So this is also measured by use of the statistics. Then there is the quality control. Quality control is also well-known branch of the statistics. In quality control, what we are doing, we are to maintain the quality of the drugs and the laboratory, surgical and medical instruments and equipment. This branch is called as the quality control. Quality control just check whether your equipment has standard quality or it is the local quality, or we can say it is regular quality. And another branch, that is the validation. For the validation of the new, efficient and economical screening and diagnostic tests in comparison of those already exist. So later in many laboratories, even ICMR or all over ICMR, DBT, DST is nowadays trying to develop the new diagnostic tests, new diagnostic treatments. So for the validation, they have to use the statistics, whether our developed instrument is economical and efficient than the previous one. Say for example, the validation of sputum test with respect to the X-ray for detecting the tuberculosis, and the validation of the HbA1c to test with respect to the fast blood sugar for detecting the diabetes. So previously we are going for the fast sugar to detect the diabetes. Nowadays HbA1c is now saying it is the efficient. Now doctors are recommended go for the HbA1c. Now for this diagnostic the tuberculosis, they are telling go for the X-ray, not previously sputum tests. So another branch that is called as the statistical genetics, to study the genetical composition of the population and the change in the composition with respect to the factors such as the mutation, migration, etc. Their impact on the health status of the people. This branch of statistics is called as the genetics, because nowadays let us suppose say for example dengue, malaria, we are going for the genetical sequencing, whether is it from here some genetical problem or some epigenetic means environmental problem. So these all, in all the situations we are using the statistics. Meta-analysis also a beautiful branch of the statistics. What we are doing in the meta-analysis, everybody is know, I think, a statistical analysis that combining the results of the multiple scientific studies. This analysis can be performed when there are the multiple scientific studies addressing the same research problem. That means a lot of research has conducted on the same research problem, and these all are these researchers are giving different outputs. So combined these all outputs, and get a pooled estimate, which is closest to the true estimate. So in such cases we are conducting the meta-analysis. So this meta-analysis also, in meta-analysis we are also using the statistics, we are using regression, we are using other type of techniques. Then there is another branch, another beautiful branch, that is called as the health economics and operational research, to ensure the maximum benefits of diagnosis, treatment methods and the research the population with a minimum cost basis. So we are going to like cost benefit analysis, cost effective analysis. So these in that cases we are also using statistics. We are minimizing we are trying to minimize the cost and getting the full benefits. And other developed models we are using statistics. Say for example, nowadays in all over the world they are working on the energy efficiency. How we will develop the model, how we will try to optimize the efficiency. We all know in case of efficiency we have two types of the output. One is we called as the desirable output, and another is the undesirable output. Desirable output means we are getting the energy from fast fuel. We are getting the energy, and same time we are getting some hormonal gases, CO2, other gases. So nowadays they are trying to develop a model. They are trying to develop a mathematical model in which we are maximizing the desirable outputs in order to minimize the undesirable outputs. In such cases also we are using the statistics. So without statistics, research, we can say it is incomplete. We can say it is incomplete. And another called as the efficiency analysis. For example, let us suppose we are trying whether the system is efficient, whether system is technically efficient, and if it is, if not, what should be the targets, what should its benchmarks. So in such cases we are using the operation research, and in these cases we are using the statistics. So these are the some applications of the statistics. Apart from, there are a lot of application in agriculture science, in medical science, which I am not presented here. But these are all the applications are very important for the research, whether it is in biology, whether it is in medical science, whether social science, everywhere we are using the statistics. So in these cases, we are using different type of techniques in order to get the best results in such applications of the biostatistics. So these are some branches of the statistics I am going to discuss here. One is the design methods, and another is the analysis methods. In the design methods, we are trying how we will design any research, what should be over the sample size, what should be over the sample technique, so that finally getting the results are appropriate, they are the valid. When we are focused, when we are care about the research design, then definitely after getting the results, we will say these are the true results. It is depends upon work when we have to care about the design methods. Then there is the analysis methods. After the analysis, after getting the data, then we are going to analyze itself by using the statistical techniques or methods. There are the two type of analysis methods. One is called as the descriptive. Descriptive means summarization of data in the form of tables, diagrams, center values, deviations, even the correlation. They are going to the descriptive statistics. Here we are not generalizing the results. We are just giving the picture of our data. What is the maximum value? What is our minimum value? What is the distribution of our data? So in that case, we are using the descriptive methods. In inferential methods, we are trying to generalize. We are trying to take a part of the population. That is called as the sampling. We are taking a sample, then we are going use that sample and try to experiment that sample, then getting the results and generalize that results in whole population. That is called as the inferential methods. In inferential methods, there are itself two types of techniques through which we can analyze the data. One, it is called as the parametric approach, and another it is called as the non-parametric approach. These parametric and non-parametric approach itself depends upon our distribution. Whether if our data follows the normal distribution, then we are using the parametric approach, because there is the assumption the data should be from the normal distribution. If it is not from normal distribution, then most of times we are trying to use the non-parametric techniques. But sometimes the researchers itself, we are not going for the non-parametric technique. We have to use the parametric. In that case, we are transferring our data. In the parametric approach, there are a lot of branches, then divided further branches like testing, hypothesis, estimation theory, point estimation, interval estimation, a lot of things are there. So before that, whether we are going for the descriptive methods or whether we are going for the inferential methods, we should know nature of our data. So initially our data are we should know whether our data is primary or whether our data is secondary. So I think you know the primary data, which is first time collected by the invigilator, or first time going in experiment, first time conducting the experiment, you will get the primary data. And the already published data, we can say, and the published, someone has collected the data, and someone is using that data for further research. In such cases, we can say this is the secondary data. Then there is the we differentiate what is constant and what is variable. Constant, we all know, the value which does not change, and the variable which changes over the time, or a person to person, or place to place, which changes over the time, person, place. So we can say this is the variable. So there are the variable itself has different types. One is qualitative variable and quantitative variable. Qualitative variable is the which measures the quality. Say for example, blood pressure. Say for example, heart rate. Say for example, cholesterol level. These are all the quantity. We are going to measure the quantity, and the variable associated with these studies saying call it quantitative variable. And at the same time, when we are going to use the qualitative variable means which measures the quality. Say for example, the beauty. Say for example, honesty. Say for example, gender. This is also a quality. Say for example, location. This is also a quality. In such cases, we are saying this is the qualitative study, or these are the qualitative variables. And then another type of variables that is called as the homogeneous and heterogeneous. Homogeneous variables which are homogeneous throughout the study, and heterogeneous which are not like homogeneous. Say for example, let us suppose in income we are going to estimate the per capita income of the population. This is the heterogeneous. This is not homogeneous throughout the study. So qualitative variable is two types, discrete and continuous, and quantitative variable is also two types, ordinal and nominal. Ordinal means which we can rank, and nominal which we cannot rank. Say for example, gender there is no rank. We cannot prefer male instead of female. So this is the ordinal. And the nominal, where let us suppose grades of the students, grades of the hypertension, pre-hypertension, pre-hypertension, hypertension, and these grades, then we can say this is the nominal, where we can rank the variables. So then there are the descriptive statistical methods. In descriptive statistical methods, already I have discussed the data represented in the form of tables, in the form of diagrams, or in the form of some single values, mean, mode, median. These descriptive measures is itself using in the inferential statistics, but in inferential statistics we are visualize the picture of the sample so that we can generalize our results. So then tables are the two types. One is one-way distribution, and another type of that is called as the two-way distribution. Say for example, in one-way distribution we are just number of male female. This is one-way distribution. Two-way distribution, let us suppose from urban how many males and females, and from rural how many males and females. So in that case we are two-way distribution. One is rural urban and another is male female. And in case of the quantitative data, we are using simple frequency or ungrouped data. We can use just simply frequency bars, frequency tables. What is the frequency? And the grouped data we are using sometimes cumulative frequency. And these are some diagram, sample bar diagram, multiple bar diagram, subdivided percentage bar diagram, broken scale bar diagram, lot of representation. Even some diagrams I have not mentioned here. These are some well-known diagrams. Say for example, this type of technique is this type of bar diagram, simple bar diagram, and another is the multiple bar diagram. In simple bar diagram, just we have plotted systolic blood pressure, and multiple bar diagram we have just systolic blood pressure of unemployment and employed youths. And then there is the subdivide bar diagram, because the total bar is divided by the parts, like in a family, how many number of children, adults, old. So in case, say for example, in a family, how many are employee, unemployed, and students. So this type of, when we have to represent such type of data, we have to go for the subdivide bar diagram. And the same time, when we are, instead of number, we are using the percentage, then we say it is the percentage bar diagram, or sometimes we can say percentage subdivide bar. Hello. Hello. Is I am audible?
Yes, yes, sir. You are audible. Actually,
some network issue is going on continuously here in Upper Hill. Actually, today our electrician network is not working. So that I'm sorry for that. So I am talking about these are the some diagrammic representation. Lot of diagrams, histogram is there. Then there is the pie diagram when our data is used in measure in terms of angles, or we can plot in the circle, then frequency, polygon. Lot of then say for example, stem and leaf plot. How we will represent the lot of data in a short form of the data called as the stem and leaf. This is the stem and leaf. Say for example, this whole data represented just in 2 lines, and even we can generate from these 2 lines the whole data we will generate. As all I think so many journalists nowadays saying submit your data in the form of stem and leaf, because they will generate the data. If they have the need of to generate the data, they can generate. So then there are the other measures like arithmetic mean. In arithmetic mean, different series is like different methods are there: direct method, shortcut method, step deviation method. So these are the valid in the different situations, and different series of the data: individual data, discrete data, continuous data. Then there is the median. Median is the another measure of sentence tendency. Median is the it gives the positional value of the data, and this is the procedure through which we will get the median of data. Then same time mode, what is our maximum frequency. So in different such situations, different measures of sentence tendency we have to use. Then dispersion. In the sentence tendency, we are just getting the mean value. Say for example, here I have given an example of 2 players. Both the players has average of 14. Select the one among 2 players, which so then we have to shift from the another measure that is called as the measure of dispersion. Say for example, in player first, there is more spreadness than the player second. So this means in the player second is consistent as the player first. So this also gets the consistency of the data. Then same time, absolute measure of dispersion, we will use the range, quartile deviation, mean deviation, and standard deviation. And the relative measures of dispersion: coefficient of range, coefficient of variation, coefficient of standard deviation, all different. Then another that is called as the measures of divergence from the normality, because finally we have to decide whether we are going for the parametric approach or whether we have to use the non-parametric approach. So first we should know whether our data is the normal and the non-normal. So this is the another, how much our data is diverged from the normal. That is one divergence, measure of divergence from the normal, that is called as the skewness. How skewed data, whether our data is the line right of the median,
or left of the median. Most of the data is lying left of the median or right of the median. This just gives the picture whether our data follows the normal distribution or not follows the normal distribution. These are the some methods through which we can check whether our data is skewed, positively skewed or negatively skewed, or of divergence that is called as the kurtosis. Kurtosis means how much our data is peaked than the normal curve. So this is measured the peakness of the data, peakness of the curve, whether our data follows the leptokurtic. Leptokurtic means it is a peaker than the normal distribution, whether it is follows the mesokurtic. If it is meso, that means it follows the normal distribution, or platokurtic, whether it is flat than the normal curve. These are the some methods through which we can measure the kurtosis. Then these are all just giving the picture of the data. We cannot generalize the results in another population, because here we are just giving the picture of the data. And then there is the inferential statistics. Inferential statistics, we are just using the sampling concept, using the sample, then estimate the parameters from there, and then generalize the parameters for them. So there are the two types of estimations. One is the point estimation, and another is the interval estimation. And the criteria for the good estimator, it should be unbiased. How we will check the unbiased? Then we have to go for the unbiasedness. If it is expected value of t is equal to the theta, where theta is the true parameter, then check the parameter should be consistent, the parameter should be efficient, the parameter should be sufficient. Efficient means it should be less variance than the another parameters, and sufficiency means it generates the whole information from the sample about the population. That is called as the sufficiency. It is sufficiency. And these are the some methods for estimating the parameters. Maximum likelihood estimator, method of movement is minimum chi-square, method of minimum variance, least square estimator, minimum variance. Lot of then Bayesian estimators, although also where when our parameters follows the sequence of random variables, then it is deterministic. Then we go for the classical estimation theory. And when it follows some randomness, some sequence of random variables, then we have to go for the Bayesian estimators. Testing of significance. In the testing of significance, when we are testing the data, so we have to set the null and alternative hypothesis. Null hypothesis, the hypothesis of no difference. We are just assuming there is no difference between the sample and the population. There is no difference between drug A and drug B. And then we have to in support we have to set up an alternative hypothesis. There is some difference. In the alternative hypothesis, we have to check whether our hypothesis is two-tailored or single-tailored. If it is single-tailored, whether it is left-tailored or right-tailored. So these should be take care when we are going for testing the hypothesis. Then choose the sample statistics. Then sample statistics is nothing, it is a function of the sample observation. So we have to choose how we will generate the parameters from the sample to get the information about the population. Then choose the level of significance. Level of significance, how much confident you are, how much error accepting you in your study. Then compute the statistics. Then compute statistics. You have to use statistical to compute the statistics. Then find the rejection, whether our hypothesis, whether our result is rejecting, whether our hypothesis is rejecting or accepting. Then taking our decision. I think, sir, this is enough today. Hello.
Hello. Hello, sir.
Sir, can I wind up here?
Yeah. Please, sir. Please wind up.
Okay, sir. Okay. So then there is the statistical hypothesis. I will just go through some examples. For example, examples of the null hypothesis. The mean cholesterol, we can denote it by mu1. is of in a
ये
normal subjects of 30
बताओ
years of
कि इन ए और सी ग्रुप में तमन्ना की दो
is
सेक्शन
equal
थे,
to
उनके नंबर कितने थे?
190. So our mu1 is equal to 120. So this is
This
our
is
the
the
normal assumption. And say for example, mean cholesterol in
ऐसे अपलोड कर
hypertensive patient mu1 is greater than the mean cholesterol value of now. So this is called as the left-tailed, and same way this is called as
अच्छा वहीं पे जाते हैं उन बच्चों की कोई है रोल नंबर वगैरह कुछ?
So then statistical errors. Here it is very important because when
तमन्ना कहाँ आ रही है यार?
Dr. Dhar sir, please unmute yourself. Dr. Dhar, please unmute yourself.
so statistical errors. So when we are trying to testing the hypothesis, we have to take care of our decisions because there should no error in our decision. When there occurs some error, then definitely we lose our confidence or we lose our power of study. So how we will say this, let us suppose here we have the null hypothesis, we have to take the decision about the null hypothesis. Say for example, we have got a sample and then let us suppose our null hypothesis is true and we are going to accept the null hypothesis. That means we are giving the correct decision. We are going in correct conclusion. And when our null hypothesis is false and we are rejecting that, that is also we are correcting. This is the correct decision. And when our null hypothesis is true and we are going to reject the null hypothesis, then we can say this is the type first error. Type first error means this error usually denoted by alpha. Alpha is that is why we are giving how much error tolerate in your study. That is the alpha level of significance. In that corresponding, we have level of confidence. Say for example, when we are going for test on the 5% level of significance. That means we are just accepting the 5% error in our study, and in opposite, that means 95% you are the confident. That means your confidence interval is 95%. That means 95% you are confident that our results from the sample in order to generalize on the population is correct. You are confident about that is 95%. And the type second error, then our null hypothesis is false and you are accepting the null hypothesis, that is called as the type second error. Normally statisticians are saying that both the errors have the same significance in the statistics, that same importance in the statistics, but biostatistics or biologists are saying the type second error is more dangerous than the type first error. I will just give an example. Say for example, some pharmaceutical company is developing medicine, and a statistician is trying to give the lesson whether they have to marketize that particular medicine or not. And when he is just set up the hypothesis, say for example, he is saying that this hypothesis is not true. That means this particular drug is not standard level. That means he is rejecting that. That means if the drug has a potential, but he is going to reject that particular drug, that means it is the type first error. Type first error means the loss is on the single person. Only one person has following loss. That means that particular company is on the loss. The type second error. Let us suppose that in case of type second error, the drug has adverse effect, and the particular statistician is going to giving a lesson to marketize that data, that particular medicine. So that he has conducted her type second error. In case of type second error, the mass population has affected due to his decision. That is why type second error is more dangerous as compared to the type first error. Then correlation, just association between the two variables, whether they have positive, correlation, whether there is negative correlation, no correlation. If there is positive correlation, which degree of correlation is there? Is there a perfect positive or perfect negative correlation? I will give if the data is the numeric or categoric. That means if data is numeric and your output is also numeric, then we are going to the correlation or regression. If our data is numeric, input variable is numeric and the output variable is categoric, then we are going to compare the mean value, that we are going for t-test or analysis of variance depends upon number of variables. And if our input variable is categoric and output is numeric, then we are going for the logistic regression or survival analysis. And if both input and output variable are categoric, then we have to go for the contingency table, that is called as the chi-square analysis, whatever. So these are some. So correlation and regression, it is just showing the association and the degree of the association, and then predict that degree of association by using the regression. This is just a method how we will measure the correlation from the two variables, and then say for example test the correlation. Most of times, let us suppose if our correlation is 0.07, we are saying this is significant correlation. That significance and insignificance is dependent upon the test of correlation. So in case of test of correlation, we have to use t-test, that is t is equal to under root of 1 minus r square. That if it is then less than 0.05, then we can say that particular correlation is significant correlation. So these are the some like interpretation of correlation. If it is plus minus 1, then it is perfect positive or negative correlation. If it lies between plus minus 0.90 to plus minus 0.90, then it is highly positive correlation or highly negative correlation. And if it is lying between 0.70 to 0.90, then it is highly positive correlation. In case of previous, it is very high. Then moderate correlation, low correlation, very low correlation, and then marked correlation, and we can say insignificant correlation. Then the regression is just, we are just predicting the behavior of that association by using the regression. So these are the some regression and corresponding values. Then measures of the association. Measures of association is very important because most of the studies in medical science or in biology, we are going to just measure the risks of the disease, risk factors. In the risk factors, we are using the measures of association. That means odds ratio. Say for example, I will just go through one example, odds ratio. Odds ratio is the probability of event occurs divided by the probability of event does not occur. So say for example, it is in this table, let us suppose exposed and not exposed, and then diseased and non-diseased. This is like A is equal to 100, B is equal to this much, C is equal to this much. Then odds ratio is A divided by C divided by B divided by C, that is equal to AD divided by BE. That is the odds ratio of the particular which we have measured here. Then the sensitivity analysis is another, that is called as the ROC analysis. Most specificity and sensitivity value of particular in order to define the reference ranges. Just I will go through the example. Say for example, this is our scenario. This is our population. This is our population, and these are the diseased persons. Then we are developed a diagnosis to diagnostic these diseased persons, and we have developed, and that particular diagnosis has given some false negative values, these red values, and some false positive values, and then we will check that sensitivity analysis of particular diagnosis by using these RFC analysis. So how much was diseased, and the diagnosis says this is not diseased, and some persons which are not diseased and that particular diagnosis says this is diseased. So this is like how we will get the sensitivity analysis and specificity value. Thank you very much, sir. I am very sorry for this inconvenience during this talk because by this network issue.
It's okay, sir. So actually, your presentation is very nice. I would like to express my sincere gratitude for the incredible motivation, fruitful and enjoyable lecture you delivered. Your insightful words have felt a lasting impressing on me, impressing and guidance in me in way that will undoubtedly contribute to my personal and professional growth. Thank you for sharing your expertise and knowledge with such enthusiasm, making the learning experience truly valuable. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you giving this opportunity. I'm sorry because of this network, it was some disturbance was there, but anyway.
No, sir, it's fine. I understand.
If anyone has any suggestion or any question,
anyone want to ask any question to Dr. Dhar?
Any question or even any suggestion, so that I will
please raise your hand if anyone want to any questions regarding this topic. I hope no, sir. I have no, sir.
Okay, thank you,
sir. Now I would like to invite Ms. Diksha Sharma to invite Dr. Ronak Das, sir. I have Dr. Ronak Das, sir.
Thank you so much, Siddharth, for giving me the opportunity to introduce one of the eminent.
Diksha ma'am, please wait. I am just talk to Dr. Ronak Das, sir. Yes, Diksha.
Am I audible, Siddharth? Hello?
Yes, please introducing him.
Thank you so much, Siddharth sir, for giving me the opportunity to introduce one of the eminent scientists, Dr. Ronak Kumar Das. Dr. Ronak Kumar Das is specialized in molecular pathology, virology, molecular biology, and biotechnology. He is currently an assistant professor at the Center for Biomaterials, Cellular, and Molecular Theranostics at Vellore. Dr. Ronak Kumar Das has been involved in both teaching and research for more than a decade, and as a result, he has major contributions in the field of theranostics. His objective is to investigate multiple aspects of structural, cellular, and molecular biology in order to find solutions to a variety of medical problems that fall under the purview of theranostics. Dr. Ronak Kumar Das' long-term career goal is to become a scientist in research and development department of a medical biotechnology company. In this capacity, he is actively involved in teaching and making significant contributions to the academic and scientific communities. In addition to that, he has worked as a visiting fellow at the University of New South Wales in Sydney, Australia. And he received his PhD from IIT Kharagpur, where he researched the structural molecular profiling of oral cancers, notably oral submucous fibrosis. Dr. Ronak Kumar Das' career as a researcher included stints as a research assistant at the King Institute of Preventive Medicine and Research in Indian Council of Medical Research, where he participated in the isolation and detection of viruses, and as a reporter at News Today, where he covered news related to biotechnology and medical sciences. Dr. Ranakumar Das earned his PhD in microbiology from the University of California, San Francisco. His academic credentials include a Doctor of Philosophy degree in Oncology and Cancer Biology from IIT Kharagpur, a Master of Science degree in Applied Microbiology from University of Madras, and his Bachelor's of Science degree in Zoology with honors from University of Calcutta. The various credentials and certifications that Dr. Das possesses are future evidence of his exceptional academic standing. This focus is on the broad knowledge, academic accomplishments, and research endeavors of Dr. Ranu Kumar Das. It demonstrates his dedication to furthering knowledge in the domains of molecular pathology, virology, molecular biology, and biotechnology. Now, I would like to invite Dr. Ranu Kumar Das.
Am I
Over to you,
audible?
sir.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Very much audible.
I'll just share my slide. I hope it works. So, are my slides moving?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Visible.
Thank you. We are all done. Thank you. First of all, thank you to the organizers. Thank you to all the participants and who are here. And my introduction was really flattering. So anyways, I will start with my topic. So my topic of today will be whatever I have been doing on oral precancers. So how these precancers have a big trouble in India. So I will deal with that, and that will be the focus. So most of my work mostly revolves around looking at molecular profiles on tissues and the cells, uh, looking on through various microscopy and doing a bit of analysis on that. So I'll start with that. So I'll just okay. So I'll not go through much of the introduction. I'll just try to tell that India, due to various oral habits, we have lots of oral cancers. And the problem with India in oral cancers is we have a lot of habits, oral habits, like chewing pan, tobacco, and a lot of others deleterious habits. And these cause some precancerous lesions, and which, if left untreated or undiagnosed, they basically turn to cancer. Now, I will be mostly covering something called a disease called oral submucous fibrosis, which has been a big problem in the Indian subcontinent and especially the South Asian thing. And the main culprit of this disease is the chewing of betel nut or something called as supari. So these are all the agents which cause. So earlier we used to find this disease happening mostly in people aged above 40, but recently because of all these uh, you see all these packet products which have a lot of concentrations of all those agents, and due to which, and being it has become a fashion statement among teenagers to show off. So because of this, we are also finding this disease happening in young adults, like 18 years, 20 years, and it is a recent phenomenon. So these are some of the symptoms of this disease. So what happens is, since the name suggests fibrosis, so you have a greater deposition of collagen fibers, especially in the submucosa, due to which the opening of your mouth becomes what do you call? It becomes tough. So you cannot open. So basically, the severity of the disease is calculated. You can see a scale over here. So where amount of opening of your mouth. So if you can put more than 3 fingers in your mouth, so your mouth opening becomes less. So it's clinically known as trismus. So the severity of this disease, called as oral submucous fibrosis, is mostly depends on the amount of trismus that you have, the amount of opening, and it causes increased salivation, and you have like difficulty in having spicy food and consuming. And the biggest problem is the patient is unable to have food properly. So a lot of them end up in starvation, and sometimes it also happens, and it is mostly you can see in the oral region all these lesions. I'm not going into details of that. So in order to look at it, what do we do? So whenever we have it, it's a gold standard to have a biopsy. Till now, it is there. So we have a biopsy, and after doing a biopsy, uh, something called as H&E staining, which I think all of you know, and it is a gold standard in the medical industry. So any cancers you have to, the pathologist has to look at an H&E section, and then only he can tell whichever part of the body be it. And it's been there for the past 100 years, and there hasn't been much changes to it. So this is how the structure of the oral mucosa looks like. So you can, uh, I'll just point to options. Yeah. So if you can look at the upper section is the epithelial section, and it is separated by a basal membrane, and the lower is the mucosa. So it's the connective tissue. So what happens in OSF is this connective tissue region, what I am showing you here. Over here, you have deposition of collagen, and due to which it causes a difficulty in the opening of the mouth, and like the oral epithelia has 4 layers. It's a squamous epithelial tissue. Instead of the skin, which has 5 layers, it only has 4 layers. And due to that deposition, you have all those problems. And all this collagen deposition also creates trouble to the epithelial cells. So mostly the basal layer of cells, where you have the stem cells as well. And in this basal layer, you have the dividing cells. So that causes a trouble, and that is how you have it like goes to oral carcinoma. So this is a basic view. Like so, to be clear, I just wanted to be clarify that I'm not looking at cancerous cases, because once cancer happens, the patient obviously will die. How much he survives in 5 years, that's it. But this is before the cancer happens, because the jargon for the world is you have to detect them early, or you have to go for prevention. So that is why early detection is very important for anybody who is researching in cancer in the clinics or the diagnostic fields or theranostics. So this is how a normal mucosa looks like. You can see pointed edges. So you have good surface contact and all these things. And you can see in OSF without dysplastic cases, you can see dense collagen fibers getting deposited over here. Blood vessels also increasing, and you can see a loss of these retipex structures. And when this happens, the abnormality goes on, and when it goes close, it hasn't gone to cancer, but dysplasia is closer to cancer, like closer to carcinoma development. So you will find there's a derangement in the arrangement of these cells over here in the epithelium, and you can see blood vessels as well over here, and you can see the like conical structure, something goes off. So what our thing is that these are some of the like things what happen. You can see the atrophy, loss of these retrorages, or dysplastic changes where you have cell variation, nuclear variation changes. So these are what the pathologists look at. So till now, the pathologists basically subjectively look at it. So what we try to do is try to bring in some specificity in these. So these are some of the criteria given by WHO. Like how do you look at these architectural changes and the cytoplasmic changes in the tissues, in the abnormal tissues. So based on this, basically pathologists tell you what is the like stage of that, not the stage, the like grade of that, like whether it is uh, having dysplasia, mild, moderate, severe, non-dysplastic, whether it is normal or something. So based on that. So what we try to do is try to bring in more specificity in these things, so that these are all non-specific, very subjectively how pathologists look at it. So we just tried a bit. So not only bring in subjective, but we also looked at some of the molecular expressions. So this is how the disease progresses. So you can see like we have mild dysplasia. So moderate, where you have 2/3 of the epithelium, then we have nearly most of the cells gone apart from the keratin layer becoming abnormal. And finally, it is known as carcinoma in situ in this condition, where you can see all the cells are abnormal, but it hasn't broken. So what happens is these cells have to break. So when it breaks, then only you have something called as carcinoma. Because in order to do that, they metastasize, they have to find a blood vessel. Those are the, what you call, the arteries, like those are the highways in our body from where they have to go and they can cause secondary cancer. So our job is to look at the abnormalities before this happens. So we want to do some early detection. And a lot of these are not detected because what happens is whenever people come to the clinics, so whenever they hear the term biopsy, they run away, they go to some other alternative things and all, and then come with a full bore cancer when the patient is at a greater risk. So that is what myself and our collaborators have observed. So these are some of the important epithelial markers which we have looked at. So one of the most important epithelial marker like E-cadherin, which is very well known. And what happens is E-cadherin, basically expression remains the same, but its location becomes different. It either goes into the membrane or this, and it has another molecule attached below it, which is called as beta-catenin. So both of them expression, especially when it becomes abnormal, they lose their they lose some of the expression on the membranes and they become cytoplasmic. And beta-catenin, if it migrates, so in this picture, it will be clear. So you can see, so these are the cells and these are cellular junctions. These are E-catenin junction. And this moiety has beta-catenin and other alpha-catenin as well. But I basically looked at E-catenin and beta-catenin. And what happens is when it becomes abnormal, this beta-catenin basically detaches from E-catenin, this junctional complexes, and it becomes mostly expression cytoplasmic. And if it migrates to the nucleus, it can activate a lot of cancer-causing genes like c-MYC. So we knew that. So just we wanted to see whether it really happens in OSF, which is a condition. Am I still connected? I hope there's no trouble with issues with the connection. Can somebody just say yes?
No, sir.
Yes, sir.
It's right fine.
Thank you. Yeah. So this is what happens. So basically, these are some of the, I'll not delve into details of sample collection and all these things. So we looked at tissues. So as you saw with biopsy, so we looked at immunohistochemistry. So in clinics, mostly people use the like chromogenic method because you can look at it with a normal microscope. They don't use fluorescence ones. So, but we generally, since we are a research lab, so we did both and did a bit of comparison, not much, and not detail that. So we did some analysis as well. So this is how the E-cadherin, how is it and how is it like present in the epithelial portion, and whether there's any detachment from the basement membrane. So these are all we did. So that's not detailed, but this is how we saw. This is a normal one. If my pointer is visible, this is a normal tissue, and this is a OSF without dysplasia. This is mild. This is moderate. So you can see. So this is under 10x magnification. So you can see in the dysplastic ones that the membranous association has been lost, and you can see a lot of them in the cytoplasm. So that is what. So we did a box plot analysis to look at how different it is. So we did find a lot of difference over there, and they were pretty significant. So this is a fluorescence image. Over here, we have a normal tissue. This is OSF without dysplasia, this with dysplasia. So if you look at it, you can see very clear the cellular surfaces, like cell membranes, where they are. You can see very clear expression. But if you look at the dysplastic ones, you can see a bit of green fluorescence as well in the cytoplasm. So this is what we looked at their expression. We just analyzed the expression in the membrane, in the cytoplasm, the intensity, and this is what we got significant differences in them. So we also looked at like we also did a put on a team of 3 pathologists and put some questions like whether the expression is really membranous, whether it's a cytoplasmic and if it is not. So in the not only the basal layers, that is the lower layers of the epithelium, but also the upper layers. And based on that, we did do some Cohen's corpus code analysis, and we found that there's a bit of agreement on all those things. So basically, what we find is this E-cadherin, which should be membranous, generally in the like OSF cases, we have like breakage in their expression in the membranes, and we have more of we also find cytoplasmic expression of E-cadherin in the epithelial region. And similarly, similar observations we also didn't find. We also did find in beta-catenin. I think below the red is in beta-catenin, but we could see a lot of pronounced cytoplasmic expression of that in the OSF with dysplasia cases. Dysplasia is like where we have an abnormal arrangement of cells, and after dysplasia, mostly, if left untreated, a lot of them do convert to cancer or carcinoma. So, as I told you before, we did suspect that this is what happens in other conditions. So we tried an OSF as well, and we could see some accumulation of beta-catenin in the nucleus as well. So this is what we found. So we also found that there's a greater expression of c-Myc in OSF. So this is wherever you see brown, that is called c-Myc expression. So you can see this is a normal, we see less. We see some of them at the basal layers in the OSF without dysplasia, and we see a lot of them in what do you call in a dysplastic condition. So we did their analysis, and we also looked at their like PCR expression. And we did find there was a considerable increase in the expression. So that is what we found. So I'm not delving too much. So then there's a gene called P63. Now it is very interesting because I think it was discovered very recently. And like a gene, you have to work on it for a long time to know its activity. So it's still not known. And so we wanted to see whether what is its expression, especially in thing. Now, why we selected this gene is like it has till now like 6 isoforms have been, I think in vitro they have found it. Research still going on, and it was discovered for the first time, I think, in 2000. Papers came in Nature and Science, and they found that this P63 is a very, very peculiar gene. So it can either be a act as a tumor suppressor. So if you look at the TA isoforms, they act as a tumor suppressor. And if you have the delta N isoforms, it acts as an oncogene. And what happens is all these isoforms they find for this is because it has 2 alternate promoters. So one is the smaller, like truncated isoform, and it also has splice variants. So this alpha, beta, gamma, delta, these are the splice variants, and T are the different from the different promoters. So one is the larger isoform, one is the smaller. So that is what we find. So different papers have told that there's a complex interplay of these isoforms, and that is what actually tells whether a cell will become abnormal, become cancer, neoplastic or not. So we wanted to look at it. So we tried to look at some of the isoforms, not everything. So whatever means we had, either with the help of PCR or with the help of antibodies, though we ordered antibodies for specific for the T and delta N, but I couldn't get proper expression, so I haven't shown, so I couldn't publish my data because I was not convinced that that was the real expression of it. So anyway, so as I told you, we looked at PCR, some of the like basic groups. I haven't looked at the alpha, beta, all those isoforms, but the basic like based on the promoters, alternate promoters, the isoforms I looked at. And obviously, as you did, so looked at P63 whole expression. So this is basically the immunohistochemical expression done on normal, abnormal. So you can see I've juxtaposed both the expression with the help of chromogenic technique as well as fluorescence technique. So I found that they were similar in both of them. But this P63, which I've looked at, this is a monoclonal antibody which basically binds a DNA binding domain. So basically all the isoforms will be tracked. So I cannot distinguish, but I was just looking at the basic P63 expression. But over there also, I did find that there's a difference in their expression between normal and abnormal. So if you look at the normal, the basal cells, the cells which are located at the basal layer of the epithelium, they've too strongly express P63. And the interesting thing about P63 can also take over the role of P53. It is damaged. So that is the reason why we thought that P63 is interesting. Let us look at it. So we found that there's an increased, on a whole, there's an increased expression of the summit, like especially in the abnormal cases. So this is all the like normal OSF without dysplasia, mild, moderate, severe dysplastic conditions. So we looked at the percentage of nuclei which are positive. So we did find that it is increasing, which are like which have been like what you call stained by P63, and we found that even if you look at the percentage in the whole epithelium versus the basal layer, so there is also a bit of increase and decrease in both the conditions. So it is interesting. We found that it decreased in OSF without dysplasia, but it increased in OSF with dysplasia. So that is interesting because that is how the genesis of this disease happens. So OSF without dysplasia is a very precursor stage, like it's called as a precancerous stage. And this both are precancers, but this is considered more closer to neoplastic development than this one. So over here, the tissue is just getting to find the changes. So maybe because of that, it decreased. We have to investigate more on that. So we did also looked at how many layers are positive in the epithelium. So we obviously found that in the dysplasia, there were more number of layers. So you can see the number of layers are similar in both normal and OSF without dysplasia. But in dysplastic conditions, where you can see a lot of abnormalities, so we had more number of layers which are positive for P63. But I just want to tell you there's a whole of P63. And we also did some curve fitting analysis, so which validated our thing. Now, what we did was we also looked at the intensity of these P63 nuclei, strain nuclei, and we obviously found an increase in the various layers of the disease conditions as it is becoming severe. And there was, and we also found that a delta N form, which is also known as the oncogenic form, its expression obviously increases. So if there is less cycle threshold, means there's an increase based on the PCR, like real-time PCR results. But we cannot comment much on the TA thing, which we need to investigate more. We're not satisfied. We also did some microarray analysis. So based on that, we looked at some of the fold change of the P63 related genes in the microarrays. So looking at them, we found that, okay, so something called a ZEB and twist, there was some change in their expression. So based on that, we thought, okay, a lot of current research that suggests that epithelial to mesenchymal transition is a mechanism which happens when cancer cells migrate and metastasize. So looking at this profile, we thought, okay, why not look at this phenomenon of EMT, whether it really happens or not. So we tried looking at it. So as I told you, we found that the greater expression of delta and P63 does happen. So we tried looking at whether EMT does happen, and we tried to correlate all the findings what we had from the clinics, like for histopathological expression as well as molecular expression. So okay, so let's go to the whatever I've done. So if you look at it, so this is the normal first one, and these are the disease conditions. Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
No, sir. I'll call you sometime. I'm in the midst of a presentation. Sorry. Thank you. Okay. Very sorry. Okay. So what we can see is that this upper one is PAS staining. So in PAS staining, what happens is it basically stains. We can see glycoproteins are stained, and as I told you before, that this epithelial region is separated from the connective tissue region or the submucosa with the help of a basal membrane on which you can find epithelial cells standing on it. If it's normal, they will be mostly having a polarity of apicobasal, and if we we have also calculated, but I haven't shown it now. So we mostly find them like situated at 90 degrees angle to the basement membrane. So what we see is this basement membrane is becoming thicker and friable in the disease conditions. And we have done some VG staining, Van Gieson staining, which basically stains what you call the collagen fibers. So we did find intense collagen bands in the disease conditions. We did find the intensity as well, and we did find that there's an increase in the intensity. So these are some of the things which we did, and we also validated with some Mann-Whitney or statistics or ANOVA we did, and we found that there was significant difference. And now what we felt was if there is greater amount of collagen deposition in this layer, so obviously what will happen is they will constrict the blood vessels. Obviously there will be development of hypoxia. So we looked at a factor called CD105, which mostly stains the tumorigenic vasculature. So we thought obviously cells will need more amount of oxygen, so we will have greater angiogenic movement, like greater amount of blood vessel formation. So we did find that in dysplastic conditions, there's a lot of CD105 staining, which basically signifies tumorigenic vasculature. So we feel that because of greater amount of collagen, there might be hypoxic conditions. We did look for HIF and alpha hypoxic genes with the help of PCR. And then we wanted to look at in the tissue some of the expression of encadherin. So we did find a bit increase in the expression of encadherin over here. So what happens during EMT is the epithelial cells basically, if you look at it, sorry, I'll go back. The epithelial cells mostly become spindle shaped, and they want to break the basement membrane and go out and go into blood vessels. So we wanted to look at this. So and what happens is over here, so obviously the encadherin is greater expressed, but encadherin expression increases when EMT happens. So we found that a bit of increase in encadherin happens in the epithelial cells. And then we wanted to look at some transcription factors. Recently, I think 1 year back, a paper came which told that all the transcription master regulators, even if one of them is upregulated or downregulated, they don't work by complementation. Obviously, if you find that, then the EMT program has happened. So we did find an increase in those twist factors, which I told you, we wanted to look at it because we found that those factors were increased or some change in their fold expression is found in some of the microarray studies. So we found, as I told you, we do find based on these that in this, when EMT happens, so I'll not delve into data much. So these are, we feel, are the possible events that might occur in the OSF tissues when this process happens, which can lead it to become neoplastic. So we know because the name itself that there's a greater amount of collagen deposition over here. So we find that, and then also we find that the basement membrane thickens. If it thickens from various data, we find that it becomes a bit brittle. So greater amount of this also we found that greater amount of CD105 and HIF1 alpha hypoxia genes also increase. So there is a condition where there's less amount of oxygen over here. And these are some of the changes what are happening in the epithelia. We already found that there is a greater expression of delta and P63, similar greater cytoplasmic expression and nuclear expressions beta catenin, which obviously can increase the c-Myc expression, matrix metalloproteinase as well, and obviously we have like greater expression of cytoplasmic expression of E-catenin and also breakage in their membrane expression. Apart from that, Twist1, which is a EMT transcription factor, is also increased. We saw it both, not only in the tissue, but we also see it in the microarray profiles, and ZEB1 as well in the microarray profiles, and HIF1 alpha has a feedback loop with it. And in some of the microarray, we also saw a microRNA 205. So all these tells that the tissue is basically becoming abnormal. And obviously, some of the changes show that there is a sort of a like EMT sort of a thing which is happening. Now that is one. So we are still working on that. more and more. So what currently I haven't shown the data because we're still working on it. So we got some funding from DBT where uh, we know that cervical cancer is caused by HPV. So a lot of Indian oral cancer, there's a lot of connection. So I'm basically currently working on that, see how this changes can be influenced by HPV as well. So that current work is going on in my lab currently and my students. So other aspect which I had worked a bit, which is pretty close to my heart, is like looking at microscopy, because fluorescence microscopy has a lot of problem. So the biggest problem with fluorescence microscopy are the images are not clear. So in order to get clear images, we need to go for confocal, and confocals are very costly. And even if you go for a confocal, lot of because we use lasers, so there's a lot of bleaching, lot of loss, and a lot of better dyes we need. So for that thing, so I looked at something called as uh, structured illumination microscopy, which is also known as a super resolution microscopy. So which uses grids, and those grids have the various angles which projects, and these three images are then reconstructed. So we use a similar instrument which did this from a company called Carl Zeiss, which is very famous. So what we found was that when we use, so for especially fluorescence stained tissues, not cells, which are not moving, this structure illumination microscopy really works wonders, and it gives us even better images than confocal, especially if I'm considering the lateral resolution, not the axial resolution. So we did like different staining, and we found that this is a normal fluorescence microscopic image, and this is the one which we found with the grid project, like structure illumination microscopy. So what happens is over here, the grid will change its like angle from 0, 120 to 40. And this is what these are some of the normal my images. So we can see that there's a difference where you can see a little blurred. You can see a lot of green thing in the cytoplasm as well. But over here, it's pretty clear, crisp and clear. So all these three images were like we just not stitching, but we just process them and reconstitute them as a single image using the intensity. So this is the algorithm what they follow. So looking at it, we found, and these are some of the fluorescence filters what we use. I'm not getting into that. So the results, so if you can look at it, you can see it not only gives a lot of information about the nucleus variations which are there in the nucleus, as well as you can see very crisp and clear like membranous expression. So what happens is obviously these things are not used in the clinics. So anybody who looks at images from normal will think that, oh my God, we do have a lot of cytoplasmic expression of E-cadherin. This might be abnormal, but it might not be. That is because of the out of focus light which comes because of the normal microscope. But you need to use a confocal for that. But again, in the confocal, we had a lot of problem with bleaching and scanning time, though the scanning time has become better these days. But this grid with the help of this grid projection, we found that the images are much better, and they give us a better lateral resolution than even confocal. So we did find how the spread of those happens. So we found that there's a less spread of those intensity from the nuclear boundary in a what do you call in our grid projection, or what the company calls apotome, Carl Zeiss, than the white field. So these are the normal images, like these are the images on apotome of the various disease conditions what we saw. So these are some of the summary. And apart from that, as I told you, so we also looked at like HPV. So initially, before looking at oral, we found that whether this HPV can cause EMT in cervical cancer cells. So for that, we did some transfection as well as transduction. So we wanted to replicate those findings of E-cadherin and all in vitro in cervical cell lines. So we did find some of them. So we can find that when we put like transfect them and transduced them with HPV 16 and 18. So there is increase in c-Myc and beta-catenin compared to the normal ones. And similar, we did a time point study post-transfection, right? So we did see an increase in the c-Myc expression as well. And sorry, c-Myc and beta-catenin. Sorry, I have made a mistake. Apologies. This is beta-catenin, not c-Myc. And this is also the c-Myc. So both of them do increase and cytoplasmic. So we did that analysis and we found that okay. And this is when we transduced them with retrovirus, we could exactly see these are the control ones, normal ones, not transfected HPV 16. We find there's a greater expression of c-Myc, as well as more or less, you find more or less cytoplasmic expression of beta-catenin over here, the normal ones, and we see a lot of cytoplasmic as well in this. So based on that, we found that, and we also found a bit of like nuclear accumulation of beta-catenin in the nucleus of that. And since we could see that in cervical cancer cells, so now we are trying to replicate that in oral cells. I think my students are working on that. And we also looked at Huckath cells. So, and we found a similar as well over here, like some of them, when we transfect them with HPV, so in different cell lines like skin and all, we find that it causes intellect changes. So we are now trying to find that in oral cells as well. So these were some of the changes we found for the various EMT markers. So these are all those cell lines which I like real-time PCR changes in the various EMT transcription factors I've shown. And as I told you, I did work on a bit of trying to quantify those nuclear cellular changes. So we found that fractal dimension is really like, so it is basically you find out how crookedness is the structure. So I'm not delving much into this. So we did some box count and we found that especially abnormal cells have greater fractal dimension. So fractal dimension basically tells you how crooked is the structure. Like, for example, if we look at a mountain from a distance, we'll find a straight structure. But when you look at closely at its contour, we'll find there are a lot of undulations. So all those changes by the dimension. So based on that, we did that. And we found that there's a lot of changes in this fractal dimension, nuclear fractal dimension, in the especially in abnormal conditions. So that is it. I'll stop here. I wouldn't go any further. I would like to thank these two students. So one of them did the PhD and she has, I think 2020 she finished her PhD and she's currently working as a postdoc at Case Western Reserve University. She did a lot of this work. And Sharangshu, he's also going to like finish his PhD. So part of the PhD work I've shown. So this is the part which is like the oral thing, which is close to me. We do work on other aspects of reversing EMT in skin cells and UV, but I haven't shown because of the paucity of time. And I would like to acknowledge some of my collaborators, Professor J. Chatterjee from School of Medical Science and Technology, IIT Kharagpur, Professor R. Paul, Professor Moshmi Paul, who are associated with us and providing us clinical acumen as well as clinical expertise. Professor Shangamitra Sengupta and a student at Department of Biochemistry, University of Calcutta, where they do help us with some of the transcriptomics and works analysis to understand some of the PCR analysis and the microarray analysis. And a lot of work. Also, I collaborate with Professor Noel Whittaker and Chris as a student. So he helped us. Basically, he was my postdoc supervisor who helped me and I like did a lot of transduction work over there, and which we are doing over at VIT as well. And obviously funding agencies. So sorry, I have not mentioned ICMR as well as LSRB, Life Science Research with DRDO. So all this work requires a bit of money. So these funding agencies have really helped us doing that. Thank you. I would be happy to
Thank you so much, sir.
Questions.
If anyone want to ask any questions regarding this topic, please raise your hand.
Very nice talk, Dr. Das. Your slides
Thank
were
you, sir.
really exceptional. Thank you very
Thank you, sir.
much for making
Thank you, sir.
us having the knowledge about the cancer. And I had a very general question about the solid tumors. Actually, they have hypoxic conditions in and around these cells. So how does the, like for therapeutic purpose, how does the physician ensures that the hypoxic conditions which are generated are taken care of?
A very good question, sir. So I don't think I will
Thank
be
you.
I will be the best person to answer this, because as I told you, so yeah, because we work with clinicians, they do it. So there was a book called Malady of Emperor of All Maladies by Dr. Siddhartha Mukherjee, a very famous book. So over there, he stressed a lot. It was a very famous book on cancer. So like early diagnosis, early detection is very important. So that is the reason why we worked on like like OSF, which is not cancer, I say they classified precancerous. So we just looked at it. So what happens, as I told you, is that like patients, when they really have a trouble, as it is solid mass coming up, then only they come. And then, as I told you, the clinicians have a tough time. Either the chemotherapy responding these days, a lot of evolutionary therapy is coming, which helps, but they have a tough time. Sometimes we have seen like whole jaws being removed. So what the clinicians do, I have to consult them. But what we are working is the whatever cases they find problem in the pre things, like before that. And that is the thing. Like we get very few samples, because when they develop a solid tumor, then only they come to the clinics. Before that, they don't come. So if people get checked themselves daily basis, and if we get them like get to know their conditions early, we can save a lot of these things. So your question, not being a clinician, I will not be able to answer properly, but it's a very good question. Yeah, there are a lot of theranostics therapies being used, but not being a clinician, I wouldn't be able to give a proper answer to that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. It was really a lucid presentation. Your slides, especially the microscopic observations, were exceptional. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. I want to also express my heartfelt gratitude for the enlightenment and inspiring lecture you provided on oral cancer. Your expertise and insight have not only broadened my understanding, but also ignites a passion for raising awareness about this critical health issue. Thank you for sharing your knowledge and making a lasting impact on my perspective. Now,
Thank you. I would then leave this session. Thank you.
Ms. Diksha Sharma, please introducing Dr. Rameshri M. Ma'am.
Thank you so much, Siddharth. Dr. Rameshri, ma'am, and accomplished academicians hold a distinguished educational background with the degree of master's and post and PhD from University of Mysore. She is currently serving as the assistant professor and head of postgraduate department of zoology at JSS College, JSS College of Arts, Commerce and Science on Uti Road, Mysore. She has garnered significant academic recognition. Additionally, Dr. Rameshri has held pivotal roles as the chairperson of the Board of Studies and the Board of Examinations, contributing to the academic governance at JSS College of Arts and College of Science. Her membership in the Academic Council and participation in the Institutional Quality Assurance Shell further showcase her commitment to educational excellence. Dr. Rameshri is a proud recipient of several prestigious awards, including the Young Scientist of the Year 2010 from the National Environmental Science Academy, New Delhi, the Honorary Fellowship Award in 2022 from the International Association of Zoologists, and the Best Woman Scientist Award in 2022 to 23 from the Nature Science Foundation, Coimbatore, Tamil Nadu, India. With a notable scholarly record, she has published 9 articles in national and international journals and presented 12 papers at conferences worldwide. Dr. Rameshri is an active life science member of esteemed organizations such as the National Environmental Science Academy, the Society of Reproductive Biology and Comparative Endocrinology, the Indian Society for the Study of Reproduction and Fertility, the International Association of Zoologists, and the Academic and Research Conclave. Her multifaceted contributions underscore her dedication to advancing scientific knowledge and fostering collaboration research initiative within the academic community. Over to you, Rameshri ma'am.
Dr. Rameshri M. ma'am. Dr. Rameshri M. ma'am.
Hello.
Hello.
Siddharth sir, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am. Very much audible.
Thank you. Thank you, madam, for this wonderful briefing about my CV. Today, in this international conference on recent trends in life science and biotechnology, I would like to share a few thoughts about the topic microgravity's challenge to reproductive norms. It is a review presentation. So we all are aware of what gravitational force is, right? So today we will be discussing about what actually the word microgravity refers to. So microgravity refers to the condition in which objects appears weightless and experience very small accelerations due to the influence of gravity, which means we cannot tell that the gravitational force is completely zero, but whenever the person, he or she are present in this microgravity conditions, the gravitational force is very much less, but not zero. So microgravity is generally achieved when an object is in a state of continuous free fall towards the massive body. That means whenever the person is out of the Earth's orbit, there is a condition or a situation wherein the person they may feel there is a free flow towards the massive Earth's orbit. So why there is a need for such research? That means why there is a need for the effect of microgravity on human physiology, or why there is a need for research on microgravity. Since 1961, there are a lot of people who are working on the space science. So out of them, around 530 men, and the least is about the women who are working in the space. So there is a plan for human expedition to Mars even. So according to the US National Aeronautics and Space Administration, that is in 2013, the voyage is expected to take around 2 2 to 3 years. So if the journey is around 2 to 3 years, what will be the fate of the human physiology in the space? So this is what the today's question is about. So because in the presence of gravitational force, the human physiology works in an optimum or a colonized manner. But if a person is traveling far away from this gravitational force, what will be the role or what will be the physiological conditions of a human body? So there are several possible risks associated with space flight that could affect reproductive health, such as exposure to ionizing radiation, microgravity, hypergravity, psychological and physical stress, and disturbance in the circadian rhythms. All of these, they results in the deviated conditions of the physiological process in a human body. So space is the next habitat of interest that humans are exploring. So in recent few days, we can become, we can travel, we become the multiplanetary species. So there are a lot of efforts that has been, taken up by the national and private organizations to build up the capacity to operate beyond the Earth. So if we want to become the multiplanetary species, or if we want to move out of the Earth's orbit, and we have to stay there for longer period, that is for nearly 2 to 3 years, then the person who is actually traveling with this problem have to face many challenges. So what are the main challenges that a person has to face? Means you have to overcome the stress, you have to overcome the exposure to the radiations, because within the Earth's orbit, we have been exposed to very limited radiations, but in space the radiation exposure is very much, and we are moving away. We are moving in an opposite direction to the gravitational force. So there will be gravitational changes. It may be hyper or hypogravity. There may be psychosocial issues of living. That is, isolated living in a confined space is mandatory there, with very few persons who are present there, and extreme space environments. So if we need to travel this distance for a very extended period, we have to know about what actually are the limitations, what actually are the problems that a person has to face, which is far away from the reality. So now, if we want to know what actually is the effect of microgravity on overall physiology of human body, so exposure to microgravity causes a large number of physiological effects. The physiology of the human body completely varies. Physiology from which includes altered fluid, electrolyte balance, cardiovascular changes, decreased in the bone mineral density, muscle wasting, okay, increased percentage body fat, insulin resistance, and there is a large damage is being brought about to the reproductive system, and there will be changes in the lung capacity, the increased glomerular filtration rate and decreased sweating will be seen. Then with this, the other concepts that I have left out here. So the complete changes in the physiology, normal physiology of the human body can be seen in this microgravity. So cardiovascular effects, which includes decreased ventricular volume, decreased blood pressure, increased prevalence of cardiac arrhythmias. The examples of lung capacity changes, which includes the vital capacity decreases initially during microgravity, and then during the pre-flight values, while residual capacity is decreased throughout the exposure to microgravity. Thus, all these are the examples that can be quoted, where we can mention that how the physiological changes takes place in microgravity. So if we move on to the specific topic, such as effects of microgravity on reproductive system. So reproductive system is such a vital organ system which works, and it has its own importance, because this reproductive system, production of gametes and production of the offsprings, which are which actually fits into the environment, which are dominant, where the survival of the fittest is the concept that we accept. So the production of dominant genes to the society is one of the major issues. So if this reproductive system is altered, if there is a problem, or if the stress is being applied on this reproductive system, what are all the problems that a human faces? So extended travel in deep space poses potential hazards to the reproductive function of female and male astronauts. The problem is not only specific to male or female, it is for both male and female astronauts. And these hazards include exposure to cosmic radiation. The radiation level in space, it is more when compared to that of gravitation, or the radiations within the Earth's atmosphere, and increased gravity, psychosocial, physical stress, and circadian rhythm disruptions. So, what are the key challenges associated with reproduction in space? If we move on to this topic, the key challenges that is being associated with the reproduction in space is microgravity effects. So it may influence the overall structural details of the spermatozoa. If in case of male reproductive system is considered, the male gamete, that is the sperm morphology, is being altered. The main characteristic of spermatozoa, or how we assess the quality of a spermatozoa, is by its motility, by its vitality, and the sperm motility and vitality is being degraded. If we move on to the female reproductive system, the fertilization capacity of the egg is being reduced. The embryological development is reduced. The health of the developing fetus within that restricted gravitational environment, it is completely reduced. And the system is being exposed to radiation. Thus, it has detrimental effects on the reproductive cells, the basic cells, we call it as the mother cells of the developing spermatogenic or oogenic cells. They are being, it has a detrimental effect on these basic cells. And bone density and muscle atrophy can be seen. So long-term exposure to these cosmic rays and microgravity brings about there is a loss in the bone density, and the pregnancy and childbirth is associated with the calcium content and the bone density of a female. Thus, it poses challenges for the health of a mother who is facing the microgravitational effects. It has the cardiovascular changes, psychological stress has been associated with the microgravity, the process of isolation, confinement, all these brings about the psychological stress in the female astronauts that who are present in the space station, which in turn affects the overall production of the healthy gametes in the system. Which in turn, this emotional well-being is, affected by the process of conception and pregnancy is being affected by this psychological stress that has been induced in the space. So limited space and resources brings about a major challenge that the astronauts has to face. So there is a limited space availability in the space station where they are working, and the accommodation and the needs that has to be, a pregnant lady or a female who is pregnant or who is about to give birth. There is no adequate quality facilities or medical facilities or nutrition that is available in that particular environment. So birth in microgravity, the process of parturition is itself a complicated process. So even with all the medical facilities here, it leads to many complications nowadays. So, but in case of microgravity, because a large quantity of medical facilities cannot be provided in that particular environment. Thus, it is a big challenge for any of the astronauts who is traveling. And when we move on to fetal development, this influences the embryonic and fetal growth. So all these can be said as the key challenges that is associated with microgravity. So research in microgravity or research on microgravity and reproduction, it is the topic for day, because many of the agencies, they are, especially in NASA, it is working for they are mainly focusing on the visit for Mars. So as I said earlier, visit to Mars requires nearly 2 to 3 years, which is not a very small period for their stay in Mars in that reduced gravitational conditions. Thus, the focus of how to overcome the physiological changes, how to introduce the how to overcome all these problems that is being faced by the astronauts have to be is a major challenge over today. And these are certain publications where they have mentioned about very scarce information about microgravity and reproductive health is being published. So out of all the information that I have received, I have made a small effort on making how actually this microgravity has the effect on reproductive system. So I have mentioned, or I have given few examples on how this microgravity actually works on the male and female reproductive system. So reproductive hormones here refer to, because testosterone is said to be the male hormone, and estrogen and progesterone is said to be the female hormones. And it has been, these hormones are basically required for the overall process of spermatogenesis and oogenesis. So this reproductive hormone have been measured in male astronauts during and after the space missions of various durations. So after the space flights, or after the before, during, and after the space visit, the astronauts were, the samples from the astronauts were taken, and they've been tested for the reproductive hormones. The serum urine and salivary concentrations of testosterone decreased statistically significantly during flight, which were compared with the levels of the same hormones before the flight. So 15 male astronauts on International Space Station, lasting around 48 to 215 days, provided the blood samples. The blood samples were taken before flight, during the flight, and after the flight. And the serum levels of testosterone were, analyzed. And the total testosterone did not decrease during the space flight, but it was completely decreased statistically significantly on the landing day, and returned to the baseline levels by 15 days after landing. This was a significant result that was obtained during this survey. Similarly, decreased levels of free and total testosterone were noted in astronauts after completion of 12 to 13 days of flight. So this shows that during the flight, there is no reduced concentrations of testosterone, but later on, after the astronauts have retrieved their flight, and later on, the testosterone level has significantly reduced. This has impact on the male reproductive system, because testosterone itself is required for the formation of spermatozoa, and also the libido of the male is being monitored by the presence of testosterone. Thus, even after the flight, even after the landing, if the testosterone level is reduced, this brings about a large variations in the reproductive physiology of that person. Testicular histomorphology. Histomorphology refers to the sections, whatever the sections what we take. So the flight, the space flight, after returning from the space flight, there is degenerative changes. Normal histological details of the testis shows the arrangement of the spermatogenic cells. So if the arrangement of the spermatogenic cells are degenerated, if the formation of the primary and secondary spermatocytes and the spermatids are being degenerated, there cannot be the presence of the spermatozoa that is being present in the lumen. Thus, epididymal sperm count also, it will be reduced. Thus, the reduced concentration of the spermatozoa in the lumen can be seen. So bed rest with -6 degrees, head down tilt for 60 to 90 days or for 14 days did not affect the serum concentrations of free or total testosterone in male volunteers. However, both levels declined after reambulation. That both the results here gives a significant value wherein during the flight there is no changes in the testosterone level, but after when they have retrieved from the flight there is a significant reduction in the serum testosterone level. So sperm motility, as I said earlier, it is considered as one of the important criteria for quality assessment of the spermatozoa, and the researchers have made a significant study on how this mice, they have taken mice as a model and they have checked the effect of microgravity on the sperm motility of these mice. So in that, the tail suspension method is being used, wherein this tail suspension methods, they have got a significant reduced track speed of the spermatozoa, and also mean progressive velocity of the spermatozoa also has been reduced. So this gives a clear-cut image of how the microgravity affects the sperm motility. So in controversial with the results that I have mentioned now, the other scientist, Tash et al., who obtained the sperm of male sea urchins, where they have, they have reported that there were no significant changes in the sperm motility. So what actually is the reason for reduced sperm motility in case of mice, and no changes in this or no significant changes in the sperm motility in sea urchin? What actually is the reason behind these two controversial statements? It is still not, they have not worked on them. So here are a few examples wherein it depicts few experiments to show how the effect of microgravity on different parameters of sperm quality. The first one is about the sperm count. So how this tail suspension method is a method that has been used commonly in the space science or the research on microgravity, wherein they suspend the tail, leaving behind the mice, upside down, so that the mice do not, it cannot escape from the study area. Okay. So thus, when compared with the control group, the arrangement of spermatogenic cells in the histoarchitecture of testis, there was a wide variation or disordered arrangement of the spermatogenic cells. Spermatogenic cells refers to with sperm mother cells, primary spermatocytes, secondary spermatocytes, spermatids, and spermatozoa towards the lumen. But the arrangement of the spermatogenic cells were completely, it was not in an order. And when one of the scientists were subjected this mice with the tail suspension method, and there was a significant, the number of spermatozoa were completely, or there was a significant reduction in the number of spermatozoa in the testis. So the hormone levels, when we move on to how the microgravity affects on the hormone levels, I have mentioned that testosterone is one of the hormones that is responsible for the process of spermatogenesis. If there is a significant reduction in the testosterone level, the production or the process of spermatogenesis itself is decreased. And this decreased spermatogenesis process results in the complete nil of the spermatozoa in the section of the seminiferous testis, that is in the seminiferous tubules. So testicular weight and architecture, if we talk about the testicular weight, the research shows that the tail suspension method shows reduced testicular weight and histoarchitecture. So there is degeneration and necrosis of the spermatogenic cells were seen in the seminiferous tubules of the testes. The arrangement of these spermatogenic cells are haphazard, and there may be edematous fibrotic hemorrhagic changes can be seen in the tears of testis. The extended suspension time, the tail suspension method is one of the method used, and the extended suspension time may bring about the major damages in the testis, which becomes more serious even after reaching, because the prolonged period of mice after suspension, it brings or it becomes irreversible change in the arrangement of the spermatogenic cells. So the few experiments done by the tail suspension method shows significant reduction in the number of testicular sperm and elongating spermatids, which is accompanied by this decline in the testicular weight. Testicular weight is reduced because the spermatogenesis is majorly affected by the reduced concentration of the testosterone. When the testosterone is completely low, there is normal production of spermatozoa is reduced. Thus, the testicular weight may be reduced because spermatogenic cells may not further divide and form into spermatozoa. That's why there is a completely decline in the testicular weight. So we can also see that impairment in the spermatocytes beyond the packaging stage can be seen, and almost no spermatozoa were found in the lumen because of the reduced level of the testosterone, and also hypospermatogenesis, because the normal spermatogenesis doesn't take place, and that condition we refer to as hypospermatogenesis. So if we move on to look into the microgravity effect on the female reproductive system. Female reproductive system is majorly concentrated on the process of oogenesis. Oogenesis and spermatogenesis are of the same process, wherein it involves the hormonal levels which brings about oogenesis or spermatogenesis. Here, in the female reproductive system, the impact of microgravity also has the effect on the production of eggs. The process of fertilization is completely, altered. It influences the rate of fertilization. It affects the interaction between the sperm and the egg. If there is no interaction between the egg and the sperm, there is no reaction. There is no meeting up of the egg and the sperm take place, and the fertilization rate is completely reduced. And the process of ovulation and follicular development is influenced by this hormonal changes. So when there is a reduced or declined concentrations of hormones in the serum, so of course it brings about, or it has impact on the ovulation. And the follicular fluid, the ovary is completely filled by the ovarian follicles and the fluid associated with it. So when the fluid dynamics is altered due to microgravity, because there is a cranial shift in the fluids. So thus, when there is a cranial shift in the fluid, the ovarian fluid, the fluid within the ovarian follicles is also, it has impact over, and it has effect on the developing eggs. So if we move on to the hormonal changes and the space radiation exposure, they are susceptible to radiation damages. So space environment exposure to reproductive cells, it brings about, it may bring the genetic damage. Okay, so thus long term, it may lead to the long term effect on the developing offsprings. And so very less information is obtained on the effect of microgravity on female reproductive system, because the female astronauts who are traveling, they are very less in number, and the space travelers, they face many problems during this space flight. Thus, the impact of microgravity on ova development. We should see on how this impact of microgravity on ova development early development may influence the fertilization process, which affects the interaction between the ova and the sperm. Thus, these are certain criteria which we have to, keep in mind. Ovulation and follicular development is affected. Follicular fluid dynamic is affected. Hormonal changes is affected. Fertility challenges are faced. And thus, what actually is the effect of microgravity on menstrual cycle? Generally, menstrual cycle is seen in the female astronauts who travel for space also, as seen in the case of normal females. But what actually is the effect of this menstrual cycle on the female astronauts? So periods are caused by the lining of the uterus and are characterized by regular vaginal bleeding, and menstrual fluid contains a mixture of these tissues from the uterus. And this is common mechanism, and this is seen in the female astronauts also. And even the same phenomena, the zero gravity doesn't bring about any changes in the menstrual cycle, because the physiology of menstrual cycle remains the same, and they experience the menstrual fluid it does not accumulate menstrual cycle. In studies involving human female participants, bed rest has been shown to have minimal impact on menstrual cyclicity, as reports indicate no effect in menstrual cycle length.
Hello. Hello.
Am I audible now?
Yes, ma'am, audible.
I'm sorry. Yes, how to overcome this menstruation? Because menstruation is a common process even in female astronauts who visits the space. The menstrual cycle, it will be as usual as in case of any female on Earth, but the only problem is the female astronaut has to carry all the necessary requirements or supplies to safeguard and to overcome this menstrual period. So, but otherwise, menstrual suppression can be done by using different hormonal therapy to reduce or stop the menstrual flow. So out of these two options that is given, to suppress the menstruation or menstrual flow by hormone therapy is a better one, because it may affect the physiological process of the female, but in case of the second choice, the female has to carry all the necessary requirements to overcome this menstrual flow, because the weight of all those for a period of 2 to 3 years, if we keep that in mind, it is very difficult for the female to manage the things. So menstrual suppression therefore appears to be the preferable choice. And endocrine regulation, if we move on to the concept of endocrine regulation, the main the signaling pathway that is regulating both male and female reproductive system is the hypothalamic pituitary gonadal axis, and this play a major role in the production of the overall gonadal steroidal hormones. So the production of testosterone, the production of estrogen and progesterone is being monitored by this endocrine regulation. So that's if we want to speak about human pregnancy in space agencies, NASA has strict policies regarding pregnancy for astronauts and women who are pregnant or could become pregnant. So that's it is out of concern that what will be the fate of pregnant ladies in the space. Further research has to be done. So thus there are a few more slides regarding the details of effect of microgravity on pregnancy and other the policies that has to be adopted for the reproductive health in space. So with this brief information regarding microgravity and effect on reproductive health, I would like to conclude my topic for the day. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rameshri ma'am. I'm sincerely thankful for the enlightening and inspiring lecture on the challenges of microgravity on reproductive norms. The speaker eloquently explained the intricacies of microgravity and its impact on space-related terms, providing a comprehensive understanding. My gratitude extends for the insightful presentation that has broadened my knowledge in this fascinating field.
I thank all the organizing members. I thank Sushil sir. I thank Siddharth sir for this opportunity. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Diksha. Before I inviting our special guest, Dr. Subhadeep Mukherjee sir, I announce an important thing. This is the oral presentation will be start 2:15 and 2:20 onwards. The first presentation is Savita Soni, Sachin Kumar, Jaya Lakshmi Krishan, Rajeshwara Reddy Saddala, Amit Kumar, Mini Devi, Shubha Lakshmi M, and Ankita Subhagia. This is from 2 to 3 p.m. Now I am invite Dr. Subhadeep Mukherjee sir. Dr. Subhadeep Mukherjee sir is an authority in the domain of organization behavior and human resources, and he is presently working as an professor at Ramaiah University of Applied Science in Bangalore, which is located in the state of Karnataka in India. Because of his extensive career, he brings a wealth of expertise and experience to the table, having worked in both industry and academia. Dr. Mukherjee has made important contribution in the field of human resources and marketing throughout his time spent working at the Department of Management Studies at the National Institute of Technology, Silchar. Prior to accepting the position of assistant manager in Ovrian India Learning Service, in his role as a researcher and teacher, Dr. S. Mukherjee has continuously demonstrated a strong commitment to his academic work. His work has been published in journal data listed in Scopus, AVDC, Web of Science, and UGC, and he has presented in at both domestic and international conference. Because of this role, he played as co-editor-in-chief of the journal Adhyatma, a journal of management, spirituality, and human values. He plays an important part in the dissemination of scholarly work. Dr. Subhadeep Mukherjee is a part of a lot of esteemed organizations because he is a live membership of Indian Commerce Association, the CEGR Center for Education Growth and Research, New Delhi, and the Social Science Research Network in United States. All of these organizations are located in India. In addition of his Masters of Business Administration in Human Resources and Marketing from Bangalore University. He is also hold a Masters of Law in Human Resources Management, Personal Administration from Annamalai University, as well as Doctor of Philosophy in Business Administrative and Management from Divrigarh University. Both of these degrees have a emphasis of HRM, teaching, research, editing, reviewing, and public speaking are just a few of many professional activities that Dr. Suvadi Mukherjee is involved in. These activities demonstrate his commitment to helping people develop as full individual through activity. Now I am warmly welcome to Dr. Suvadi Mukherjee sir. Please hand over the session to you.
Thank you, Mr. Siddharth. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Very much audible.
Yeah, I'll like to share my screen. Is the PPT is visible?
Yes, sir. Very much visible. Very much visible.
Okay. And thank you so much for inviting me, Mr. Siddharth, because I am totally a different person in this community, because all eminent scientists and researchers from the science background are here, and I am totally from the management background. But it will be a privilege for me to address the mass, because even the science and commerce, though they can run parallelly. Actually, we can collaborate each other and we can run parallelly, because science is creating the ideas and we are there to support, to convert the ideas into a business. Okay, so today's topic that I'm going to address on the topic like sustainable science of entrepreneurship for the scientists, because we know the eminent researchers and the professors are working with a lot of innovative ideas across the globe. But now we are in the high time that we should address and convert this research into entrepreneurship, because that end result we require. So my presentation will be kind of a little bit kind of a brush up to the all the science fraternity and motivate. My message is to motivate. Please convert your research to an entrepreneurship or in a startup. So first I'll go with because in our country now we are focusing on the sustainable entrepreneurship, because it is not about profit making business. We have to think about our society, our environment, our economics, everything. So we should understand what is sustainable entrepreneurship. So you can see the definition is already mentioned, that refers to the practice of creating, developing, managing and business, not only focuses to the financial success, but also prioritizing the environmental and social and ethical consideration. So it is very much important when we talk about sustainable entrepreneurship. There are various following parameters like long-term vision, innovation and efficiency, social impact, because social impact is very much important, because how it is impacting my society, it is very much we have to take into consideration. Then how we are engaging with the various stakeholders, economical policies, and more on. So when we talk about the social entrepreneurship or sustainable entrepreneurship, we have to think for the long-term vision, because we are talking about people, planet, profit, because business is not about charity. End of the day, we should get the profit, but we should create an ecosystem in such a way that should be a win-win situation. So now we have to understand whether this sustainable entrepreneurship is very much important in today's world, because we are day by day enriching into a technology, because we are very much aware. We are talking about digital India now. You can see in last G20 summit, we have addressed various formation of how we can enrich our country of India into a startup movement, because since 2014, we are already enriching with various ministries are coming up addressing in this thing. But now we are, because last day our honorable Prime Minister has also addressed about Viksit Bharat. So it is already talking about the sustainable ecosystem. Okay, so when we talk about sustainable entrepreneurship, we need to address the environmental challenges, resources conservation, because that is a big challenge that in the world globally in every side we are facing, and how these researches are going to impact the equity of the society. And obviously now after COVID, every domain, whether it's a science, whether it's a commerce, whether it's a humanities, it's talking about mental health well-being. This is a very important thing to address this nowadays research. We the social scientists are doing. And yes, we have to line up without the regulatory bodies and the compliances with the government, as well as into PPP mode and the technological advancement. No doubt about it. So the next, when as an entrepreneur or as a scientist, we should understand whether do you think that entrepreneurship is needed in science. When we have discussed with a lot of eminent from various domain of science, whether it's engineering or bioscience or various domain, now every scientist is looking for to convert their prototype into a business. Okay, when we talk about entrepreneurship, these are the various factors you can see on the screen. They have to think about what should be my business plan, what value I am going to create for the society, who you are going to build of it, what is the channel, customer relation, etc., etc. So entrepreneurship is very much important, whether it's any domain, because instead we should understand now, if you go to 10 years back, we talk about what job I'm going to get it. Okay. Now we have to think how I'm going to create a job. Okay. Even we do practice because as a faculty, as a professor, we try to motivate our students. Don't think about placements. Think about how you can convert your idea, whatever it may be, aligned with your incubation center and convert it into business. Sorry. So now because all the scientists community, they have their own niche skills. Okay. That is very much required a scientist to become an entrepreneur. Okay. When we talk about scientists, they are very much into analytical thinking. They have full-fledged research and data analysis, but they have a lot of innovative ideas, because without that idea, we cannot start our research. So even attention to the details with the precautions, they have effective communication skills, persistence, cross-disciplinary knowledge, because yes, Siddharth has invited me to address the mass because I'm from a management background. People will be getting something different, because a lot of eminent speakers are talking about cancer treatments and all, but this is something different. We should recherish, we should do some kind of refreshments, how we can convert these ideas into feasibility. Then there should be adaptability to new change. When we talk about research or entrepreneurship, ethical considerations are very much important nowadays, because we know, because a lot of ethical standards has been given by the governmental protocols that we have to follow. Then we should also learn about project management skills, and yes, the development is always required. So now the next slides we're talking about translating the research into practical solutions for sustainability. Because when we talk about research, it has a lot of prototypes, a lot of data analysis are there, but somehow, as per the feedback of my previous research, it says somehow we feel a lot of challenges when we convert the prototype into a reality with the market need and demand analysis. Okay, they feel that kind of a gap. So we have to create a bridge in such a way we should impact the real world. We should address the lab and society, because when you're working these experiments in the lab, but how it can be converted into an entrepreneur and impact the society, that bridge we need to find out to reduce the gap. Then we have to address the global challenges. Okay, then what are the challenges? It might be societal, geographical, political challenge might be there. So we need to find out the gap. Then we have to also address various scientific responsibilities, because it is not about developing product and selling. How it is going to address the end users, that responsibility the scientific community should understand and should focus on that. Next, it should be a collaboration, a kind of an activity with interdisciplinary, like how we talk about like science and management or commerce can collaborate and do the joint plans to convert the science into entrepreneurship. So these things of collaboration can be done. We already do from the faculties of Ramaiah University, because we have multidisciplinary branches. And we also do collaborate with various other universities to do a lot of consultation to convert the prototypes into business formation. We also promote a lot of sustainable practices, because we have collaborations with various external bodies. We do practice and converting into like sustainable social responsibility activity. Even we promote about CSR activities to various domains in Bangalore, Karnataka, as well as various other domain. Currently, our university, I am representing Vibrant Gujarat very soon in the next month to discuss a lot of ecosystemical vitality in the domain, where we can meet a lot of collaborators from India as well as the foreign, so that we can come up with some certain outcomes. Now, when we talk about biotechnology, okay, because this is the future. when we talk about biotechnology, because I have many friends in my domain, those who are working as a postdoctoral fellow, those who are working passed out from various NITs, IITs, IT Mandis and all. I'm really thrilled to understand, because I'm really thrilled that how the biotechnology field is emerging. Okay, because I am no from a science background. I will not go into the technicality of the science, but I have a lot of curiosity. Okay, because when we talk about various topics, when we talk about green bio, when we talk about microbial bio, n number of topics are there where various eminent researchers and professors are working into it. So there is, I'll say, a huge opportunity. The globe is an open context where the science of bioscience can give a backbone spinal support to the society by converting the ideas into reality. So what are the various sustainable business practices that bioscience can practice? These are the very few parameters which I thought, because we have less time, but I try to highlight because I know everybody knew of it, you are practicing, but this is my responsibility to sometimes to highlight, like green lab practices, sustainable product development, green chemistry, sustainable supply chain management, because as a management, we talk about supply chain, okay, in terms of it might be a cost about a raw material or a human resource, but this should be a sustainable. It should not be like one-time use. Okay, so we should focus on continuous process and in a sustainable mode. Sorry. So biodiversity conservation is very much important. Even the carbon blueprint, footprint, or the sustainable packaging, social responsibility ethics, green marketing. Okay, because previously, if you see in India, we follow about a lot of marketing techniques like leaflets. In our marketing category, we have a lot of categories of marketing, but I'll not go into that. But now, when we talk about green concept, this green channel of using technology into transparency and educating customers without using any papers, we can do a lot of marketing digitally. That is very much important. Then clean investment technology, stakeholders, measuring reports and impact, because it should be an impactful kind of a feedback mechanism need to be developed so that we can understand how these practices is actually impacting in the end result. So this should be a kind of a circular model that need to be addressed. Now, my question, when we go for like a sustainable product development, because we have a lot of prototypes, but what are the questions that an entrepreneur should think? Okay, as in what kind of sustainable product development I'm going to do? So the question comes like in mind, is the product is economically viable? What I'm going to do is, okay, does the production benefits to the local communities? Because who is my target TG? Means target group, what the target customers? That I have to understand. Is the product healthy for their customers? Because it is should not be negatively impacted. It should produce safe for workers and environmentally sound. These are the preliminary questions should come in mind that while developing a sustainable product. When we talk about sustainable product, the three major factors, first is business, no doubt. I'm not running a charity, okay? So business should be there. Economical involvement should be the free and flow, cash flow should be there. But now we have moved step forward ahead. We talks about business with environment and general society. That should be taken into consideration while we're developing the model of our business before I create the business plan. So when we talk about this business ecosystem, the biggest challenge as an entrepreneur, everybody talk, is about where I'm going to get the finance. I have an idea, I have a lab, I have everything, but I don't have money to start my business. So that financing sustainability, now you can see there are a lot of avenues has came up. Even government is talking about startup India, lot of incubation centers, venture capitalists. You can talk about incubation collaborators, a lot of schemes. Okay, like, and I can tell you some body name also, like Atal Innovation Mission has established a lot of AICs, Atal Incubation Centers. If you see, talk about technological evolution, our MeitY, Ministry of Electronic IT, has also established Ministry of Startup Hub, okay, which is known as MSH. Even there are STDPIs, etc. XYZ are there. Okay. So if you're thinking that I'm going to be an entrepreneur, I want to be an entrepreneur, I want an incubation support, I want to convert my ideas into a prototype, then prototype to reality, please be associated with this kind of bodies. Even we are also providing this kind of consultancies to converting your ideas into prototypes. In your left hand side of the screen, you can see the fundings can be classified into 4 parameters. Okay. First is seed fund, young fund, growing and mature. You can see in every segments, okay, there are various parameters of funding where you can avail fund, okay, and you can support your idea or organization to enrich ahead. Okay, so this shifting the fund means, if you see the right hand side, mobilizing, alignment and impact, because you are getting the mobilizing into various form of sources of fund, then you are aligning the fund into your ideas and you are targeting your impact, which can be a social environmental impact. Now you can see the domestic enabling environment policy framework, because in India, our government since 2014 has came up with a lot of public policies. It can be national public policies, private policies, international collaborations through FDIs. We have to understand where is my target group, which are the various government departments that is can be collaborate. I can get collaborate because already you are availing a lot of funds from DST, DRDO and all. But they have also a lot of verticals which promotes startup ecosystem. So we have to understand those national ecosystem or international ecosystem, and we should knock the door to get the funds, because we should not limit ourselves within the lab. We should come out and we should discuss, we should collaborate, we should get a lot of funds through PPP mode or subsidiaries or grants, so that we can convert the ideas into the prototypes. Now, when we talk about collaboration, okay, I felt with very few of my friends, but I am not generalizing the statement. Somehow people feel afraid to collaborate. Sometimes we feel to communicate with people, that sometimes we close ourselves. We should think beyond the box, because when we talk about management in India, the definition of management is jugaad. Unless and until we'll become jugaru, it will be very difficult to convert myself into a businessman. This is the reality I'm saying you. Okay, because it is not about only science. Okay, because when we talk about commerce, we have to think about customers, fund, sources, lot of things. Okay, so we think that we should be a very good jugaru, then only we can be a very good management professional as a manager. Okay, so first we have to identify the potential partners and the collaborators with whom I can jointly collaborate and do work. Second, we should develop a mutual benefit relationship. It is not about economical relationship. It can be converted into a social and interpersonal relationship as well. Because jab tak apne collaborators ke sath we are free, we cannot convert ourselves into a business. We should be free first among each of our collaborators. Okay. Then you should think about establishing clear communication channel, then trust and respect among each other. Then you leverage fifth standard. You are going to share your leverage sources and expertise with your collaborators. Now, if you see, I think I'm connected. My screen is visible. I think I'm connected. My screen is visible, right?
So actually your screen is not visible. That's why I will share your screen from my side.
Is it not visible from long time?
No, sir. Last 5 minutes.
Okay. Thank you. If you please share.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm traveling, so I'm sharing OP Jindal's network. I don't know what is
happening. I am
just
sliding. This is 12 number slide.
Yeah, you can start with this ecosystem diagram, building partnership and collaboration, 14 number slide.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Sorry for the inconvenience.
Yes, sir.
I think from your side, the screen is not yet visible.
No, sir. Now it is visible. No problem.
It is visible from my side?
Sir, I will check. Kamlesh, is this visible? Kamlesh or Diksha, Miss Diksha?
I think it is not visible. I'll share the screen again. Just a second.
Yes, sir.
Is this screen is visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay.
Is the PPT is visible?
No, sir. PPT is not visible.
Yeah, I can, because my mobile is also on, so I can see my screen.
Yes,
One
sir.
second, just a second. I think now it is visible, right?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Now it is visible.
Yeah. I'm sorry for this inconvenience.
No, sir, it's okay.
Yeah, I know it is near about everybody is hungry, and thank you for the patience to hearing me. I'll just rush off a little bit. So I was discussing about the various partnership and the collaborations when we are talking about a lot of questions when we talk about partnership, because when we are in science community and collaboration, we have to, because if you see this platform where Mr. Siddharth has invited me, this is nothing else. We can understand how we can collaborate with each other as a science and a commerce. I'm thinking in that angle. So I will be happy if I can help you in any kind of converting your ideas into prototype. So what is the impact when we talk about building partnership and collaboration for impact? It is all about establishing the clear roles and responsibilities among the partners, identifying the goals or the objectives on work you are going to work on. We should develop a shared vision, okay, because it should not be mahi maliku. That kind of attitude should not be there. It should be like you should work as a team. Okay, then the research potentials we should understand, because you cannot be collaborated with XYZ. You should know the potentials of both the side, and you should collaborate and build a relationship. This is how we develop the collaboration and the partnership. So when we talk about the sustainable entrepreneurs, they have a lot of challenges, honestly saying, because building strong network and partnership is a challenge. Then coming into a common goal and priorities to compromise and sacrifice and channelizing is also a challenge. Adapting changed circumstances, innovating embarrassing technologies, and seeking support. These all are the challenge. It can be a very lucrative terminology, but when we talk about in implication, these challenges will come. Honestly saying, at that time we should be ready with our dashboard that how we are going to address these challenges into reality. Okay, so what are the challenges that comes? Because due to lack of awareness and education, we are not aware of what are the prototype, what are the schemes available, what are the things, opportunities we can gain. So we should we should not limit our geography. We should collaborate any part of the globe to, and I may be illiterate in that particular segment. I'll be happy to know the knowledge. For that reason, I came here today from a different domain to know, to accelerate my knowledge from the eminent speakers and the researchers in this platform. Especially next, limited access to the capital, because many people now are thinking where various sources are there, but people till now don't know where are the various funding agencies are there from where I can get the money. Then people also feel afraid. There are a lot of complex regulatory norms of government. बहुत सारे paperwork रहेंगे to start a business. Again, I don't want to be the part of this kind of headache. People get demotivated to start their own business. Resistance to change, scale up market penetration. These all are various factors. Actually, people feel afraid and demotivated to convert, to take the risk. So now many things have been addressed digitally. Digital innovation has addressed these challenges, but we should be aware and developed and equipped with this fraternity. So these are the various addressing of understanding various strategies. I'll not take much time into this. Siddharth sir can share the PPT with all of you. Then we know, I don't have to explain this scientist as a Nobel laureates who has converted their studies into business and supporting society with a lot of treatments and therapies across the society. These are the big stars in bioscience. I don't have to explain them. Now, I'm coming into the matrix. Okay, how this sustainable entrepreneurship can be matrixed. First, when you talk in the, if you see the left-hand side column in the matrix, material production, use and end of life means how it is done. So we should know these are the parameters which is given in the circle, okay, which is called, talk about governance, environmental and social. But when we going to do the matrix analysis, we have to consider these parameters into my research. Like people like us who will be doing the inclusive research to understand the impact of the product which the entrepreneur has developed. So these are the parameters should be taken into consideration. And there is an ethical consideration and the societal responsibility need to be matrix. If you see a matrix, if you see a graph like responsibility and impact on individuals, community and society, these are the various individual level, community level and society level, like conduct of chemical research, publishing of science, education of chemistry, safety, risk perception, sustainable development. All these things need to be addressed while you are converting your science into entrepreneurship. Next, we are into last few 1 or 2 slides. Just 2 minutes I'll take time if you permit. Like ethics, empathy and equity are the 2 major factors when we start our career from a PhD or postdocs and end-to-end entrepreneurship. Okay, because you can see whatever the activities we do in our research, it reflects in these 3 dimensions. And it is very much important to transform the sustainable transformation in science and sustainability, which will contribute to the society. We should address that as a researchers, whether I'm in social science, you are in a science, we should collaboratively should address this society. With this, I like to, I don't know whether the sound is there or not. Sound is coming? Everybody's talking. Is the sound of the video is coming?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Sustainable development. Everybody's talking about it. But what do those 2 words really mean? Let's take a couple of minutes to see what sustainable development is all about. The idea first emerged in the late 1980s as a response to the world's growing social and environmental problems. With globalization, the inequality gap between rich and poor countries is widening every day, and the
I think there is some error.
Projections for population growth are alarming. How are we going to feed a total of 9 billion people in 2050? How can we offer everyone access to clean drinking water, healthcare, education? How can we protect biodiversity and take concrete action against climate change? How can we make sure that industrial development means progress for everyone? The proposed solution was a new kind of development, or rather a variation of the traditional model called, quite simply, sustainable development. The term was officially defined in 1987 as part of the preparations for the Rio Earth Summit. Sustainable development is development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. Does that sound a little abstract to you? Let's put it this way. Sustainable development means that growth must be accomplished with respect for nature and humankind. And where is sustainability achieved? Right here, at the crossroads of economic goals, social responsibility, and environmental protection. Now, are you wondering whether a company can combine respect for the environment, social equity, and commercial success? Well, the answer is yes. Not only that, but sustainable development creates value. Here's how. Upgrading production tools to use less energy and water is good for the environment and for the pocketbook. Offering eco-design products and packaging that use just what's necessary saves materials and reduces shipping costs. Paying attention to employees improving their quality of life at work and helping them develop their skills all serve to strengthen.
Sorry for the inconvenience because the video got stuck due to the lack of proper bandwidth. And I'll tell Mr. Siddharth to share the PPT because the video is there. So I stopped actually because unless and until it is visible. So I'll be happy to take any questions if any questions is there. I think I'm audible.
Yes, sir. Audible, very much audible.
Yeah. If any question is there, I'll be happy to take.
Yes. Anyone asked any question? Then please raise your hand.
Okay, I will not waste time too much because I think everybody is hungry, and I'll be happy. Yeah, and I'll be happy if anybody like to have any collaboration in future. You please be free to connect with me. We do support in various domains in converting business prototypes and all as a business management professionals. And thank you so much for giving me time to listen to this presentation. Namaskar.
Very thank you so much, sir. I also express my sincere gratitude for your lecture on the sustainable science of entrepreneurship for scientists by D. Mukherjee, sir. He is eloquent portrayal of sustainable entrepreneurship coupled with insight into the scientist's role as an entrepreneur, financing sustainable ventures and funding options for sustainable entrepreneurship was truly invaluable. This inclusion of compelling case studies featuring successful scientist entrepreneur added a practical dimension to the presentation. This lecture was only served as a highly motivating experience, but also offered valuable insight at the interaction of science, business, and entrepreneur. Now I would start our next event, that is oral and poster presentation. I hope all participants are ready. Mr. Kamlesh, I hope you are there.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
all are ready, sir.
I have all are ready. Na? First participant, then Sachin Kumar.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, then first participant is Sachin Kumar, then Savita Soni. After that, Jaya Lakshmi Kisan, Rajeshwari Reddy Saddala, Amit Kumar, Meeni Devi, Shubha Lakshmi M, Ankita Subhegia. After that, next session is 3 to 4, that is Rekha Chauhan, Sirunahari Ugamdhar, Ankit Kumar Singh, Buddhiram Oli, Amruta Manoram, Tamanna Devi, Sanjay S. Bhardwaj, Anshika Khamboj, and Neha Verma. Now,
yes, sir.
Sachin Kumar, please start your presentation.
Okay. Am I audible?
Yes, very much audible.
Just a minute.